One thing I've always found slightly strange about the filmmaking corner of YouTube is that a lot of people talk endlessly about filmmaking, cameras, lenses, lighting, storytelling, but very few ever actually show the work that they make, which, to be fair, I do totally understand, because I think the moment you show your actual work, you are very exposed, especially if you spend all your time talking about filmmaking, and the finished film is the moment where people actually get to decide whether you know your stuff or whether you've got no idea what you're talking about. So today I thought I'd do something that a lot of creators in the video sphere don't tend to do.
Oh, brilliant. You can't describe it really, because you're your own boss, right, out on the sea, and you just look at it, you just think there is no better place to be. And if you catch fish that day, even better.
It's like winning the lottery, really. Not quite as good, I'd imagine, but you know, it's there or thereabouts in the feeling.
You can't beat the feeling of going out to sea and providing for the nation.
I've just finished a project for the Plymouth fishing industry. It ended up becoming a 17-minute film, and in this video today I'm going to break it down. I'll show you bits of it, talk through how it came together, point out some of the things that I'm really pleased with, and also a few bits that I think could definitely be better. There's one shot in particular that I had such high hopes for, filming inside the wheelhouse of one of the boats, which I completely failed to light properly because I turned out without the one thing I normally rely on. So we'll get to that in a bit. And by the end of this video, I've got two genuine questions I'd really like your thoughts on. The first will be, does this actually qualify as a documentary? And the second is, 6 days to edit both a 2-minute campaign film and a 17-minute documentary style film. Does that sound reasonable? Is that too much, too little? You tell me. Because the slightly strange thing about this project is we didn't actually set out to make a documentary at all. The original brief was pretty simple, a 2-minute hero campaign film filmed in a documentary style, plus a handful of short social clips built from interview soundbites. Pretty straightforward. But then the interviews expanded. Originally there was meant to be 1 interview day, that turned into 2, and then there was some pickup, so that was nearly 3 full days, because the client realised there were particular voices that they really wanted represented, which meant we ended up with quite a lot more interview material than planned for. So at some point during the process, the conversation shifted slightly to, well, could we make a longer piece out of these responses? And that's how this project slowly morphed from a campaign film with sound bites into something that now looks very much to me like a documentary. Although I'm still not convinced that's the exact right word. It isn't observational documentary, and it isn't investigative. It's more of an advocacy and awareness film that gradually becomes a longer narrative piece once we realised we had enough voices to sustain it. So I suppose that's the first question hanging over the whole thing. At what point does something become a documentary? Because I think this is somewhere around that, but I could do with some guidance. At the real risk of sounding like I've got chronic main character syndrome, it did feel like on this project I was the lead for most of it. There was an agency involved acting as an intermediary between myself and the client, which was really useful. They handled communications, fed back script amendments, and helped shape the messaging. There was also a photographer capturing some genuinely beautiful still portraits, and there's a small web component attached to the campaign as well. But the main deliverable was the film. And in practical terms, I was mostly just left to get on with it, which was great. It was completely creatively liberating, though that did mean that if something didn't quite work, there wasn't really anywhere for me to hide. And one of the challenges only appeared once we got into the edit. Because the interviews had never been designed to form a 17-minute narrative, each interviewee was asked roughly the same set of questions, and those questions had been prepared by the agency and client. Perfectly sensible questions for campaign messaging, but they weren't really designed to create a long-form narrative arc. So when I got into the edit, there wasn't really a natural thread running through the responses, which meant the edit became a bit of an exercise in trying to retrofit a narrative, trying to take responses that weren't originally gathered with long-form storytelling in mind, and then trying to shape them into something that flows well enough to sustain a 17-minute piece of video. And I think in spite of those things, it worked reasonably well, though I feel like if we'd known from the beginning that we were making a longer film, we absolutely would have structured the interview questions differently. Another complication was that some of the best responses we captured were the least usable. Because the project was government funded, there were sensitivities around including anything too critical of policy, bureaucracy, or regulation. And what I discovered quite quickly is that there's rather more politics in the fishing world than I had appreciated. relationships between ports, frustrations with regulation, strong opinions about how the industry is run, which meant some of the most passionate responses were exactly the bits we couldn't include. So the final film was built largely from the more measured responses, which still works perfectly well, though I have this terrible feeling that we left all the best bits on the cutting room floor. Right, let's look at a few moments from the film. I'll show you one shot that I'm really pleased with, and one that still annoys me every time I see it. One of the things I'm happiest with is the interview lighting. Some of the interviews looking down the old auction house, with the wet floor catching the reflections from the strip lights, really look fantastic to me. The location obviously did quite a lot of the work, though the lighting setup helped as well. The key light was my new Aperture Storm 400X, pushed through a 120cm octabox, then a little Xeon X60 up high as a hair light, plus a reflector. That was basically the entire setup. Very simple, but I think the results look really strong. And the interview that I'm really disappointed with is Skipper Steve in the wheelhouse of Kindred Spirit. That interview happened very last minute. Steve suddenly had availability and I was asked if I could get up to Plymouth that day, so it was all a bit rushed. And crucially, I didn't have a couple of things with me that I normally rely on. No diffuser, no ND film, and naturally the sun decided to come out at exactly that moment, which is extremely uncommon for my time in Plymouth. So the lighting inside the wheelhouse ended up being much harsher than I would have liked, and I just couldn't control for it. As such, I ended up keeping the screen time of that setup fairly short in the final edit, though it's still one of those shots where you think, man, if only I just had 10 more minutes and the right kit. One thing that actually worked very well was audio. Originally, I had planned to boom the interviews with a shotgun mic, but the fish market turned out to be such a noisy space, forklifts reversing endlessly, crates clattering, that I ended up switching to lav mics instead, and they worked great. They captured the voices clearly and they rejected a lot of the surrounding chaos. In post, I EQ'd each setup slightly depending on the space, but overall the dialogue ended up sounding much cleaner than I expected, which was a big relief.
I would love to pass the boat on. I'd give one of the boats to somebody if there was somebody young, keen and willing. I'd love the idea of helping somebody out.
I wish there was a proper apprenticeship that people could do in both my side of it and being a fish merchant, fishmongers. I know there's something going on with that, but getting kids out of school, you can earn a fortune at sea. Not being funny, there's plenty of money to be earned if you're willing to work.
And actually, if you're enjoying this sort of breakdown, not just gear in isolation, but how the decisions around shooting and editing actually play out in a real project, then please give the video a like and consider subscribing. It genuinely helps the channel. And if you want to see the bits in between uploads, behind the scenes scraps from shoots, little things that definitely don't make it into full videos, some lifeboating stuff thrown into the mix, those go straight on Instagram where you can find me as Jack Filmed. Back to the part of this project I'm still not completely sure about. I'm not really a documentary filmmaker. Most of my work sits somewhere between commercial filmmaking and branded storytelling. So while editing this piece, I found myself wondering quite frequently whether I was even approaching the format correctly. How much A-roll is too much? How patient is an audience willing to be watching people speak on camera? What ratio of talking heads to B-roll is right for this kind of thing? At one point, I had most of the interviewees introducing themselves in sequence, which, I mean, does the job, but it's a bit inelegant.
My name's Ricky. I'm from Rexdown Fish Merchants.
Okay, so I'm Caroline Bennett. I'm the founder of Solar Discretion.
Well, basically, I mean, my name is Jacques Marchal, and I used to have a restaurant in Plymouth for about nearly 30 years.
And one interviewee didn't actually introduce himself on camera, which sort of broke the pattern. So there are definite moments in the film where the storytelling could have been more refined. The timeline of the project is another thing I've been asked about a few times. At first it looked like we had loads of time. Filming began on January the 6th, and the plan was to wrap principal photography fairly quickly. Then I'd have about 2 months to edit. But the weather kept shutting the fishing fleet down. Storm after storm meant that boats simply weren't going out fishing. So I spent quite a lot of time waiting for the opportunity to film the final boat, which meant principal photography didn't actually wrap until mid-February, at which point the schedule suddenly felt extremely tight. Which brings me to the second question I mentioned earlier. The edit ended up taking roughly 6 days, and that was to deliver both the 2-minute campaign film and the 17-minute documentary. There were a few extra hours here and there, of course, there usually tends to be, but broadly speaking, that was the time allocated, and I didn't really exceed it that much. A lot of time was spent iterating the voiceover. For thousands of years, we've landed the fish that shaped Plymouth. For thousands of years. For thousands of years, we've landed the fish that fed Plymouth's coast, shaped our identity, and supported our community. Originally, the plan was to use a voice artist, but because the script kept evolving, agency revisions, client tweaks, steering committee suggestions, it became so much faster to iterate for me just to record it myself and adjust things as the edit developed, which worked really well. Still, 6 days for both films. I don't know, does that sound about right? Or does that sound a bit brisk? Because on paper it doesn't sound unreasonable, though in practice there was quite a lot of structural problem solving hidden inside those 6 days, and actually that's some of where the agency came into play, because they were able to use their team to do some of the fine-tuning type stuff. The reason I wanted to share this project publicly is that I do think there's a real shortage of people in the filmmaking YouTube space actually showing the work they make, which again, I do understand because it's so exposing. If the finished piece is terrible, then suddenly all your opinions about cameras and filmmaking do look a bit shaky. And I'm not trying to claim that this film is brilliant, but hopefully it does at least demonstrate that the things I talk about on this channel are rooted in actually making things. Tomorrow I'll upload the full documentary separately, so you can watch it uninterrupted without me talking all over the top of it. And if you do watch it, I genuinely welcome your thoughts, constructive criticism included. In fact, requested. Because I think this might be my debut documentary, and so a project like this is always going to be quite a steep learning curve. And ideally, I'd love this film to open the door to more work in environments like this. Maritime stories, small, tight crews, difficult conditions, real people doing real work. I'm Jack. Whatever this is, I'm calling Western Approaches. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Where are we going this evening?
I've inadvertently made my debut documentary, the fishing project that was supposed to be a 2-minute campaign and some social media cut downs and some vox pops type stuff. The scope for that project shifted partway through after the principal photography was wrapped, and it's turned into a documentary. So we're going to a venue for the premiere.
And what are you wearing to this premiere?
I'm wearing a nice smart new jumper. I'm wearing some trousers that were smart and new a while ago, now look a bit scruffy. And I'm actually wearing some extra tough boots, which are kind of appropriate because of the weather, and also fishermen quite often wear extra tough boots. I'm not sure if they're going to be smart enough, but it's what I've chosen.
Who else is coming to the premiere?
You are, Meg. We've got the clients there, the agencies there, and the skippers who I fished with, and the people we interviewed will be there. I've also been told that there's going to be broadcast media there, so I'm expecting BBC, ITV, some of the morning talk shows. Not really sure what to expect. And it's very easy for, this definitely isn't the, I don't think anyway, this definitely isn't the Jack Williams filmmaker Western Approaches show. I think it's more about the fishing, the fishermen, the challenges they're overcoming, etc. But it does feel a little bit like the documentary I made is the focal point. So I wonder how much of it will be the me show and how much of that is just ego, but we'll find out shortly.
Yippee!
Tide after tide, challenge after challenge, the Plymouth fleet keeps fishing. Now, we ask you one thing. Remember where your fish came from. Look past the label, and we'll keep bringing it home.
Personally, don't buy it from the supermarket. Go to your local fishmonger and buy it from them, because that will be the freshest that you could get it.
We will each just share a little bit about